First topic, basic points. First, what is an EPC? EPC stands for Engineering, Procurement, and Construction. Engineering means the design stage of the project. Procurement means procuring the materials and equipment needed for the project. And construction means the construction work. So, this is called EPC. Engineering, Procurement, and Construction. Next, the contractor constructs the plant from scratch on an empty site and delivers it to the owner in an operational condition. So, please look at this picture. Simply put, from nothing to an operational plant. From nothing to an operational plant. This is the contractor's work under EPC projects. Next is the flow of EPC contracts. Second, the flow of EPC contracts. Please look at this picture. This is the flow of EPC contracts. I want you to remember this flow, so that you can write it without looking at anything else. Because if you remember this flow, you can benefit. For example, if some event happens during this period, you can understand where the issue or accident arises within the project timeline. And you can identify relevant clauses in an EPC contract. As you know, there are many clauses in an EPC contract. But if you remember and understand this flow, you can identify the relevant clauses immediately. So, you will be able to address issues and accidents promptly. But you may think that you have a lot of information to remember. However, if you divide this flow into 3 categories like this. The first category is work. The second category is payments. And the third category is liabilities. In that case, you will be able to understand this flow easily. Again, if you divide this flow into 3 categories, you will be able to understand this flow easily. So, let's take a look at each part of the flow together. Let's take a look at the flow of work. First of all, the owner submits a request for quotation or a request for proposal to potential contractors. Potential contractors are often called bidders or tenderers. After that, the bidders prepare bid documents and submit the bid documents to the owner. Then, negotiation starts. And only one bidder will be awarded the contract. And the contractor and the owner sign an EPC contract. After that, the contractor starts the work. Engineering and design, procurement, and construction. After the construction is completed, the test procedure starts. If the plant meets all requirements, taking over occurs. After taking over, the defect liability period starts. So, simply put, from scratch to an operational plant. Again, from nothing to an operational plant. This is the flow of work. Is it clear? The second flow is the flow of payments. This is very easy. As you know, the owner must pay the contract price to the contractor. The first payment is an advance payment. The amount is typically 10 to 20% of the contract price. This varies from contract to contract, but typically, it is 10 to 20%. After that, there are interim payments. Payment, payment, payment. By around taking over, the total payments will reach 90 to 95% of the contract price. And the remaining 5 to 10% of the contract price would be paid to the contractor after the defect liability period. So, this is very easy. First, advance payment. Next, interim payments. Last, final payment. The total is 100% of the contract price. Lastly, the flow of liabilities. As you know, the contractor must complete the plant by the deadline. The deadline is typically set at completion of construction, or at the taking over date. But I think typically the deadline is set at taking over. If the contractor fails to complete the plant by the deadline, the contractor must pay delay liquidated damages to the owner. and, if during the test procedure, the plant does not meet performance guarantees, the contractor must pay performance LD to the owner. And during the defect liability period, if a defect is found, the contractor must rectify the defect at the contractor's cost. This is called defect liability or warranty. And if the contractor causes bodily injury to third parties, or damages third parties' property or third parties' intellectual property rights, in that case, the contractor must indemnify the owner against third-party claims. This is called third-party damage. And next, the risk of loss. Risk of loss means, for example, an event not attributable to either party damages the plant, or the plant is destroyed. In that case, the contractor must repair or replace the plant. Then, the question is, which party should bear the cost of repairing the plant? This is called the risk of loss issue. Typically, from contract signing to taking over, the contractor must bear the risk. From contract signing to taking over, the contractor must bear the risk. And finally, the contractor is typically required to submit bonds. A bid bond, a performance bond, an advanced payment bond, and a warranty bond. A bond is actually issued by a bank. Therefore, it is often called a bank guarantee. A bank guarantee is a security instrument against the contractor's breach of contract. This is the flow of liabilities. Is it clear? The flow of work, the flow of payments, and the flow of liabilities. Let's fill in the blanks below. Practice is very important. Let's fill in the blanks below. Next is the key points of EPC contracts.